Before you begin this book, I want you to acknowledge something you've spent years avoiding. The quiet truth hidden beneath every disappointment you ever lived through. Every failure you feared, every fall you tried to forget, every moment that broke you, was never the end of your story. It was the part designed to remake you. Life doesn't destroy you when you fall. Life destroys the version of you that can never grow. And the moment you understand that, everything changes. Failure is not a verdict. It is a mirror. It shows you the illusions you've lived inside, the patterns you've repeated, the strengths you never recognized, and the limits you were never meant to keep. But here's the truth. No one tells you. The fall doesn't shape you. What shapes you is who you decide to become after it. Some people collapse under failure. Some hide from it. Some numb themselves until they forget it. But the strongest minds, the ones who rise, look straight into the rubble of what broke them and see the blueprint of who they can become. Because failure isn't a dead end. It's a doorway into the version of you that fear has been holding back for years. In this book, you won't learn how to avoid failure. You will learn how to use it, how to read it, how to grow through it, until the very thing that once crushed you becomes the foundation you rise from. You will discover why every setback carries a message, why every breakdown reveals a breakthrough, and why the person who learns from failure can never truly be defeated. So, take a breath. Not to relax, but to prepare, because these pages will challenge you to rethink everything you believe about falling, rising, strength, and rebirth. And before you step into this journey, do one thing that will deepen this experience. Put on your headphones. Let the noise of the world fade away, and allow your mind to meet this book with the attention your future deserves. And if you wish to walk with us through every transformation that follows, make sure you subscribe, because the path ahead is not just knowledge, it is a reconstruction, the unexpected gift of falling. Every fall begins the same way, with a sudden silence inside your chest, a tightness in your breath, and a moment where the world around you feels heavier than it should. You don't plan to fall. You don't choose it. You don't prepare for the impact. It simply arrives, uninvited, unexpected, and always at the wrong time. But the truth very few people ever learn is this: falling is rarely a failure. Most of the time, falling is an invitation, a call toward a version of yourself you would never become if life allowed you to stand comfortably where you were. People imagine growth as a rising, a steady climb, a smooth ascent, a path of constant improvement. But real growth, the kind that reshapes your inner world, the kind that rewires your identity, the kind that expands your perception, never begins at the top. It begins at the collapse. Because falling exposes everything you've tried to hide from yourself. It strips away the illusions you built to feel safe. It reveals the thoughts you avoided, the fears you buried, and the truths you weren't ready to face. A fall removes the noise you've carried for years, the pressure to appear strong, the need to impress, the obsession with control. When you fall, all of that disappears, and for the first time, you see yourself without the armor. And strangely, that clarity is a gift. But most people never receive that gift. They fall, and they interpret the fall as a personal insult, a cosmic punishment, or a sign that they are unworthy of success. They don't realize that falling breaks the version of them that was never meant to survive the next stage of life. Because every fall serves a purpose. Some falls break your ego. Some break your expectations. Some break the cycle you've been repeating for years. Some break the mask you've been wearing. Some break the illusion that you were in control. Some break the belief that strength means never collapsing. But every fall, every single one, breaks something that could no longer stay. People say they fear failure, but what they really fear is the silence after the fall. The moment where they are left alone with nothing but their thoughts, their truth, and the mirror life just handed them. That mirror is not kind. It shows you the patterns you denied, the habits you excused, the weaknesses you defended, the emotions you suppressed, and the choices you avoided. Most people look into that mirror and turn away. But the ones who rise, the ones who transform, the ones who build lives, far greater than the ones they lost. They do something different. They look at the mirror longer. They face the discomfort. They acknowledge the truth. They sit with the pain instead of numbing it. They ask the questions most people run from. What is this fall trying to show me? What belief collapsed inside me? What pattern brought me here again? What version of myself is being removed? What version of myself is being made? These questions don't make the fall easier. They make the fall meaningful. And a meaningful fall is not a failure. It's the beginning of a new direction. You cannot rise into a stronger version of yourself without breaking the weaker one. You cannot discover deeper truths without shattering the illusions built on shallow ones. You cannot rewire your identity without disrupting the patterns that shape the old one. Falling is not the opposite of rising. It is the preparation for rising. Every rise begins with a break. Every breakthrough begins with a breakdown. Every transformation begins with a fall that removed what no longer belonged in your future. And that is the unexpected gift of falling. It frees you from the version of yourself you didn't realize was holding you back. When life knocks you down, it is not pushing you away from something. It is pushing you toward something, not toward comfort, not toward ease, but toward truth, your truth, the truth of who you can become when the weight of who you were finally collapses. And as you move deeper into this book, you will begin to understand why falling is not a setback. It is the foundation on which every strong life is built. When life breaks the version of you that can't grow, there is a moment in every difficult season when you feel something inside you crack. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. Like a line drawn across glass that no longer has the strength to hold its shape. This crack doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from within, from a version of you that has reached the limit of its growth. Life has a way of breaking the parts of you that can no longer take you forward. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Because the self you built in the past is not always capable of carrying you into the future. Most people don't understand this. They think pain is punishment. They think hardship is a personal failure. They believe that if something broke, they must have done something wrong. But life doesn't break you to hurt you. Life breaks you to reveal which parts of you were already out of alignment. Life breaks your pride to make space for honesty. Life breaks your excuses to make space for responsibility. Life breaks your illusions to make space for clarity. Life breaks your fear to make space for courage. Life breaks your limitations to make space for possibility. Every internal breaking creates internal space. And in that space, a new version of you begins to breathe. But here is the truth that very few people allow themselves to feel. Before you can become the person who rises, achieves, heals, or transforms, the older version of you must first dissolve, not disappear instantly, not vanish overnight, but gradually break apart, piece by piece, belief by belief, habit by habit. Because the mind you built in survival cannot guide you toward expansion. The identity shaped by fear cannot create a fearless life. The thoughts created by limitation cannot bring abundance. The emotions taught by old wounds cannot lead to new joy. Something has to break, not your soul, but your structure. And life knows this. It knows exactly which parts of you must collapse so stronger foundations can be built. This is why the moments you call failure often arrive at the exact time you refuse to outgrow your old identity. You hold on to people who no longer fit your direction. You repeat habits that block your potential. You cling to beliefs that shrink your world. You protect a self-image that no longer represents your growth. And life, in its relentless honesty, removes these outdated pieces with or without your permission. This removal feels like breaking, but it is actually clearing. You are not being torn apart. You are being opened. Opened to truth. Opened to depth. Opened to a higher version of yourself that cannot exist while the old one still dominates your choices. There is always a moment in every transformation where you think, I am losing myself, but the reality is different. You are not losing yourself. You are losing the version of yourself that kept you stuck. The version of you that apologized for everything. The version that feared taking risks. The version that believed failure was fatal. The version that hid its potential behind doubt and self-protection. The version that tolerated pain instead of choosing change. That version may have kept you safe, but it was never meant to take you further. Growth asks for sacrifice, and the first sacrifice is always the older self. When you break inside, it is not a collapse. It is an update, a restructuring, a psychological renovation. Something is being removed so something new can be built. And as painful as it feels in the moment, you will one day look back and realize that the breaking was the exact place your evolution began. Because nothing new can enter a life that is already full of outdated parts, and nothing powerful can emerge until the weaker layers fall away. This is why life breaks you lightly at first, with discomfort, with dissatisfaction, with hints that something needs to change. But if you resist, if you deny the signs, if you choose comfort over alignment, life amplifies the breaking until you finally see what you could not see before. Not because life is cruel, but because your future self is calling you, and the old self can no longer answer. As you move deeper into this book, you will see that every internal collapse is an invitation. 2. Step out of the identity that limits you, and into the version of yourself that can finally grow. Pain as data, not defeat. People spend their entire lives running from pain, avoiding it, numbing it, hiding it, pretending it doesn't exist. They treat pain like a threat, like a sign that something is wrong with them, like evidence that they have failed. But pain is not an enemy. Pain is a message, a signal, a piece of data your mind is giving you because it can no longer whisper what it needs you to hear. Pain is information that forces your attention toward a truth you've been unwilling to face. It is your inner system saying, "Look here, something needs to change." But most people mistake this information for defeat. They feel pain and assume they are weak. They feel discomfort and assume they have failed. They feel lost and assume they are broken. Nothing could be further from the truth. Pain is the mind's most honest language. It does not lie. It does not pretend. It does not negotiate. It tells you exactly where your growth is waiting. If you pay close attention, pain reveals which habits are destroying your potential, which beliefs are limiting your life, which relationships drain your energy, which environments suffocate your spirit, which versions of yourself no longer fit, which dreams you abandoned out of fear, which wounds still need healing. Pain is a diagnostic tool, not a judgment. It shows you the gap between who you are and who you are capable of becoming. But because pain is uncomfortable, most people respond to it impulsively. Some distract themselves, some blame others, some collapse emotionally, some shut down completely, some repeat the same patterns hoping the outcome will magically change. But pain does not disappear simply because you ignore it. It becomes louder, sharper, more disruptive, until you finally understand the meaning hidden inside it. Just like physical pain protects your body, emotional and psychological pain protect your growth. Both exist for survival. Touch fire, your body warns you instantly. Stay in the wrong environment, your soul warns you gradually. Through discomfort, through confusion, through exhaustion, through emptiness. But the signal is always there. Pain says, you have outgrown something. You are carrying what must be released. You are living below your truth. You are repeating what is hurting you. You are denying what your future needs. When you stop treating pain as an attack and start treating it as data, your entire life transforms. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of crying, why did I fail again? You begin asking, what pattern is repeating and why? Instead of collapsing under pressure, you begin noticing where the pressure is asking you to grow. Pain is the compass you ignore until you learn how valuable it is. It directs you toward your boundaries, your truth, your purpose, your suppressed emotions, your unused potential, your next evolution as a human being. Pain does not demand suffering. It demands awareness. It is not telling you to quit. It is telling you to look deeper. It is not telling you that you are unworthy. It is telling you that something in your life is no longer aligned with your worth. It is not telling you to run. It is telling you to understand. Pain becomes suffering only when you resist its message. The more you avoid it, the louder it grows. The more you numb it, the more damage you create. The more you deny it, the more it turns into patterns that sabotage your life silently. But the moment you see pain as data, honest, raw, necessary data, you reclaim power over your life. Because pain is not there to defeat you. Pain is there to inform you. It does not say you are failing. It says you are evolving. It does not say you are weak. It says you are ready to grow. Pain is a signal, and signals exist to guide your next move. When you begin to listen, not react, not fear, just listen, you will discover that every painful moment was a turning point you didn't recognize at the time. Pain is the truth knocking at your door, and truth only knocks when you are ready to become more than who you were yesterday. Why effort alone isn't enough. People glorify effort. They celebrate it. They romanticize it. They worship the idea of pushing harder, working longer, sacrificing more, and grinding without pause. But effort alone has never been the true path to transformation. If effort was all it took to succeed, the hardest working people in the world would be the most fulfilled. But they aren't. Many of them are exhausted, overwhelmed, directionless, and emotionally empty. Effort without direction is movement without meaning. It's running on a treadmill, sweat pouring, muscles burning, heart racing. Yet you end up exactly where you started. People fail not because they don't try, but because they don't question whether what they're trying is worth the effort. Effort becomes meaningless when it's invested in the wrong belief, strategy, identity, environment, expectation, purpose. You can work endlessly on something that was never aligned with your deeper truth. You can invest years of energy defending a version of yourself that no longer exists. You can push harder every day toward a life you think you want, only to feel emptier when you finally get it. Effort cannot save you from the wrong direction. It can only exhaust you while you walk it. This is why some people collapse emotionally, even though they are working harder than ever before. Their pain isn't from lack of effort. Their pain is from misalignment. They push. They strive. They sacrifice. They hold on. They grind through every obstacle. But their internal compass is pointing somewhere else entirely, and no amount of effort can override a misaligned path. Here is the truth that most people avoid. You can fail by not trying, but you can also fail by trying endlessly in the wrong direction. The mind loves intensity. It loves the thrill of pushing hard. Intensity feels productive. It feels heroic. It feels righteous. But intensity without clarity is noise. It is the psychological fog that makes people believe they're progressing, when in reality they're only exhausting themselves. Clarity is what gives effort meaning. Clarity is what tells you where to aim, why it matters, what to avoid, when to slow down, when to walk away, what to outgrow, what to protect. Clarity turns effort into transformation. This is why some people rise even with fewer advantages, because what they lack in resources, they make up for in direction. And this is why some people fall despite all their hard work, because what they lack is not effort, but clarity of path. You cannot solve the wrong problem by working harder. You cannot heal the wrong wound by trying more. You cannot grow in the wrong direction by pushing deeper into it. The mind needs direction more than it needs intensity, and this is where failure becomes valuable. Failure has clarity hidden inside it. When you fail, something becomes clear, a truth you refused to see while you were busy pushing harder. Failure says, this is not your path, or this is not your method, or this is not your belief, or this is not your identity anymore, or this version of you cannot continue. Failure redirects effort toward what actually has potential. It frees you from the prison of wrong ambitions. It exposes where your energy is being wasted. It reveals where your direction needs to shift. Failure is not the enemy of effort. Failure is the guide that tells effort where to go. Because effort without direction burns you out. But effort guided by clarity rebuilds you. Once you understand this, you stop obsessing over how hard you're working and start focusing on why you're working. You stop forcing yourself to chase goals that don't match your evolution. You stop sacrificing your peace for achievements that won't matter to the person you're becoming. You stop trying to be strong by pushing harder and begin becoming strong by choosing smarter. You will discover, as you move deeper into this book, that effort is only powerful when your direction is honest. And honesty comes not from success, but from failure. Failure gives you clarity. Clarity gives you direction. Direction gives your effort meaning. And meaningful effort is what transforms lives. The invisible scripts that lead to repeated failure. Most failures in life don't happen suddenly. They don't crash into you unexpectedly. They don't fall out of the sky without warning. Most failures are rehearsed, not consciously, but through invisible scripts running silently in the background of your mind. Scripts you didn't write, scripts you didn't approve, scripts you don't even know you're following. Yet they shape everything. Your decisions, your reactions, your habits, your relationships, your worldview, and eventually, your failures. People repeat the same mistakes because they repeat the same internal scripts. You are not failing because you lack intelligence. You are failing because you are acting from a blueprint that was given to you long before you understood how life works. These invisible scripts come from childhood experiences, past trauma, old identities, cultural conditioning, emotional wounds, fear-based beliefs, stories you told yourself to survive, people who shaped your thinking without knowing. And once these scripts settle into the subconscious, you start living them as if they are truth. For example, a child who grew up feeling unloved develops a script, I must earn my worth. As an adult, they overgive, overtry, oversacrifice, and fail not because they are weak, but because their script demands exhaustion. Someone who was punished for mistakes develops a script. Failure is dangerous. As an adult, they avoid risks, avoid dreams, avoid opportunities, and fail. Not because they lack talent, but because their script forbids growth. Someone who grew up hearing they were not enough lives with a script, no matter what I do, I will lose. And life eventually proves them right. Not because life is cruel, but because the script silently directs their choices. Invisible scripts are powerful because they don't feel like scripts. They feel like identity, logic, instinct, or personality. You think you are choosing, but the script is choosing for you. You think you are reacting, but the script is reacting through you. You think you are failing because of the situation, but you are failing because the script has already decided the outcome. These scripts are self-fulfilling. If you believe people cannot be trusted, you avoid closeness and create coldness, confirming your belief. If you believe you are destined for failure, you sabotage progress subtly, confirming your belief. If you believe you don't deserve good things, you reject them or choose people who block them, confirming your belief. If you believe effort is the only way to survive, you overwork until exhaustion breaks you, confirming your belief. The script wins because you never knew it was there. Here is the uncomfortable truth. You cannot break a pattern you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot rewrite a life that is running on autopilot. You cannot create new results while following old instructions. Awareness is the first crack in the subconscious foundation. And once you become aware that a script exists, you are no longer obligated to obey it. You can begin asking, where did this belief come from? Whose voice is this? Who taught me to think this way? What am I afraid will happen if I let go of this? Is this script helping me or harming me? These questions don't fix you, they free you. Because the moment you question a script, it loses its authority. It goes from being a hidden rule to an exposed choice. And choices can be changed. But let's be clear, rewriting an invisible script is not comfortable. It requires confronting the thoughts you inherited, the wounds you ignored, the patterns you justified, the identities you protected, and the illusions you used to feel safe. Growth demands honesty, honesty about the scripts that destroyed your previous attempts. Failure is rarely the result of a single decision. It is the result of a pattern that was allowed to repeat. And the moment you see that pattern clearly, you begin stepping out of the life you were programmed to live and into the life you were meant to create. As this book continues, You will learn how to identify the invisible scripts guiding your behavior and how to replace them with conscious, powerful, intentional patterns that lead to transformation instead of repetition. The ego's fear of being wrong. There is a part of you that fears failure more than anything, not because of the loss, not because of the consequences, but because failure threatens the image you built of yourself. This part is called ego, and ego's first rule is simple. I must never be wrong. For the ego, being wrong is not a mistake. It is humiliation. It is danger. It is identity collapse. So the ego protects itself with everything it has: denial, defensiveness, excuses, blame, justification, emotional walls, intellectual resistance, overconfidence. It would rather sabotage your progress than allow you to admit that something inside you needs to change. Ego does not care about growth. It cares about survival. And the greatest threat to the ego's survival is the simple possibility that you were wrong all along. Wrong about your beliefs, wrong about your assumptions, wrong about your habits, wrong about the people you trusted, wrong about the dreams you chased, wrong about the limits you accepted. But here is the tragedy. The ego would rather protect your illusions than your evolution. It convinces you that, I don't need to change. I already know this. This is just who I am. It's not my fault. I'm fine the way I am. I'm not the problem. And as long as the ego remains unchallenged, the cycle repeats. Same choices, same mistakes, same frustration, same failures. Not because you are incapable, but because the ego refuses to let you see the truth. Ego builds a prison and convinces you it's a palace. You decorate it with pride, with confidence, with self-protection, with stubborn beliefs, with old identities. You live inside this mental palace thinking you are safe until life knocks on the walls and they crumble instantly. Failure is the hammer that cracks the ego's illusions. The moment something goes wrong, a plan collapses, a goal fails, a relationship breaks, a mistake becomes visible, the ego panics. Not because of the pain, but because the truth is finally close enough to expose it. So the ego reacts the only way it knows. It defends. It attacks, it blames, it denies, it justifies, it rewrites the narrative to avoid responsibility. The ego cannot evolve because evolution requires humility, and humility requires the courage to admit, I was wrong, I didn't see clearly, I need to change. These words are impossible for the ego to speak without cracking. But here is the secret: the ego never wants you to know. Being wrong is not the end of you. It is the beginning of a wiser you. When you allow yourself to be wrong, you allow yourself to grow. You allow new perspectives to enter. You allow new truths to reshape you. You allow your identity to adapt instead of stay frozen in time. Growth is impossible without the death of certainty, and ego survives through certainty. It feeds on the belief that you already know enough to protect yourself. But the mind matures only when it accepts that it doesn't know everything. The ego resists correction because correction changes identity, and ego is addicted to staying the same. But the strongest minds in the world are not the ones who cling to certainty. They are the ones who release it. They say, I may be wrong. I want to understand more. I'm willing to update my beliefs. I'd rather learn than defend. This is not weakness. This is psychological strength. This is emotional freedom. This is intellectual power. And this is exactly what the ego fears most. Failure has a purpose. It forces the ego to confront itself. It removes the mask that pride built. It reveals the weaknesses that confidence covered. It exposes the illusions that identity depended on. Failure humbles the ego so the soul can rise. Because the moment the ego cracks, light enters, new wisdom, new humility, new awareness, new direction, new versions of you. And as you move deeper into this book, you will begin to see that the ego is not your enemy. It is simply outdated protection. It kept you safe once. Now it keeps you stuck. And nothing keeps a person stuck more effectively than the fear of being wrong. Rewriting the meaning of setbacks. Every setback carries two stories. The one you tell yourself and the one it's actually trying to teach you. Most people live inside the first story, the emotional story, the fearful story, the story shaped by ego, wounds, and expectation. A setback occurs, a plan collapses, a dream stumbles, and instantly the mind decides, this is my fault. This always happens to me. I'm not good enough. Nothing works out. I knew I'd fail. Maybe success just isn't for me. These conclusions feel real because they hurt. But pain is not proof. Pain is interpretation. A setback itself is neutral. It has no meaning until you give it one. And this is where most people unknowingly destroy their growth. They assign a meaning to setbacks that makes them smaller instead of stronger. They give a temporary event a permanent definition. They let a single failure rewrite their entire identity. But a setback is not a verdict. A setback is a message, and the message depends entirely on how you choose to read it. Two people can face the same obstacle. One breaks, the other rises. The difference is not the obstacle. The difference is the meaning each one attaches to it. When meaning changes, everything changes. Because the human mind does not respond to events. It responds to interpretations. The event is external. The meaning is internal, and the internal always shapes the external. Let's break this down. When you interpret a setback as proof that I'm not capable, your mind closes. Your energy collapses. Your direction fades. You accept defeat as identity. But when you interpret a setback as evidence that something needs to evolve, your mind opens. Your energy rises. Your direction sharpens. You treat failure as feedback, not finality. Same event, different meaning, different life. Meaning is powerful because meaning becomes memory. You don't remember events. You remember the meaning you created around them. That is why two people can live the same moment, yet carry completely different pasts inside them. Your interpretation is your past, and until you rewrite that meaning, your past will keep shaping your future. Setbacks have always been misunderstood because people expect progress to feel comfortable. But progress is rarely comfortable. Growth happens at the edge of your limits, the exact place where everything feels uncertain, unsteady, unpredictable, and difficult. Setbacks push you to that edge because they reveal the mismatch between who you are and who you need to become to reach what you want. Setbacks are corrections, not punishments. They show you the parts of your strategy that no longer work. They expose assumptions that were never true. They highlight skills you must develop. They amplify fears you must confront. They reveal patterns you must break. A setback does not say stop. It says shift. Shift your perspective. Shift your habits. Shift your strategy. Shift your identity. But you cannot shift anything until you rewrite the meaning of the experience. Instead of saying, I failed, ask, what is this showing me? Instead of thinking, this setback proves I can't do it, ask, what version of me can do it? Instead of collapsing into shame, ask, what belief inside me broke and why? Meaning shapes mindset. Mindset shapes action. Action shapes destiny. You are never trapped by the setback itself. You are trapped by the meaning you assign to it. The greatest minds in the world are not the ones who experience fewer setbacks. They are the ones who interpret setbacks with clarity rather than emotion. Where others see rejection, they see redirection. Where others see loss, they see liberation. Where others see failure, they see valuable information. Where others see the end, they see a turning point. And that is exactly what setbacks are. Turning points disguised as disappointments. Moments that seem destructive but are secretly constructive. Breaks that feel painful but are quietly removing something that cannot go with you into the next version of your life. You don't rise by avoiding setbacks. You rise by rewriting them. By controlling the meaning instead of letting the meaning control you. Because once you master the way you interpret pain, you master the way you move through life. And as you continue deeper into this book, you will learn how to transform every setback into a stepping stone, not because the path becomes easier, but because you become wiser in how you read the difficulty placed before you. Micro failures, the real path of masters. People admire mastery, the confidence, the precision, the calmness, the success that looks effortless. They see the final version of someone and assume greatness happened suddenly. They assume talent carried them. They assume luck chose them. They assume success was natural. But mastery has never been natural. Mastery is engineered, not by perfection, but by continuous, consistent, relentless micro-failures. Small mistakes, small missteps, small losses, small miscalculations, small disappointments that happen quietly, daily, silently, and shape a mind far stronger than the world ever sees. People think success is built by winning, but success is built by failing repeatedly without losing direction. Masters are not people who avoid failure. They are people who fail so many times that failure stops frightening them. They learn from mistakes the way others breathe, naturally, instinctively, effortlessly. Every great pianist pressed the wrong keys for years before a single melody made sense. Every great writer wrote paragraphs that sounded empty before a single sentence carried truth. Every great athlete missed thousands of shots before one moment made history. Every entrepreneur made decisions that collapsed before a single choice changed everything. Mastery is not the absence of failure. Mastery is the accumulation of micro-failures that were understood, absorbed, and integrated into sharper judgment. But society teaches the opposite. Society teaches you to fear failure, hide failure, avoid failure, deny failure. So people seek perfection instead, and destroy their potential in the process. Perfection blocks growth. Fear blocks action. Avoidance blocks mastery. Because the moment you fear failure, you stop experimenting. You stop questioning. You stop exploring. You stop stretching beyond what feels safe. And without stretching, there is no evolution. Masters stretch constantly, not with giant leaps, but with tiny pushes into the unknown. Their progress is not dramatic. It is incremental, invisible, uncelebrated, quiet. Their breakthroughs happen after hundreds of unnoticed attempts, not in the spotlight, but in the solitude of practice. Micro-failures are the universe's way of sharpening your instincts before life demands big decisions from you. They teach you what to avoid. They teach you what to refine. They teach you what to release. They teach you what to adopt. They teach you who you must become. Each small failure carries a lesson so precise that only repetition reveals it. Most people never reach mastery because they treat micro-failures as proof of inadequacy instead of steps toward refinement. They try something once, it doesn't work. They try twice, it still doesn't work. By the third time, they decide it's impossible. Not because it is impossible, but because their ego cannot tolerate the discomfort required for mastery. Growth requires staying in the discomfort long enough to learn from it. Masters stay, amateurs flee, and the difference in their lives reflects that single choice. There is a psychological reason micro-failures are so powerful. They rewire the brain to embrace uncertainty. Neurons strengthen each time you attempt again after falling short. Resilience increases each time you confront discomfort instead of running from it. Confidence grows each time you learn something you didn't know before. Micro-failures build unconscious skill through conscious repetition. This is why mastery looks effortless, because the effort was hidden in thousands of tiny corrections the world never witnessed. When someone becomes exceptional, people call them gifted, but the truth is simple. They were willing to fail more times than others were willing to try. Every master has a graveyard of forgotten attempts, ideas that didn't work, plans that fell apart, experiments that collapsed, hopes that didn't unfold, strategies that backfired. But instead of quitting, they absorbed each failure as information. They built wisdom out of mistakes. They built intuition out of practice. They built identity out of resilience. And eventually, after enough micro-failures, their mind reached a threshold, a point where skill and insight became second nature. What once felt difficult became effortless. What once felt confusing became obvious. What once felt impossible became inevitable. This is the path of mastery. Not perfection, not luck, not talent alone, but micro-failures, the tiny invisible moments where you choose to continue instead of collapse. And as you journey deeper into this book, you will learn how to embrace these micro-failures as stepping stones, not setbacks. Because the person who learns from small losses becomes unstoppable when life tests them with big ones. Why success without struggle always collapses. There is a kind of success most people secretly desire, the kind that arrives quickly, easily, smoothly, without resistance, without sacrifice, without hardship. They want the reward without the grind, the outcome without the process, the achievement without the evolution. And when they see someone rise instantly, through luck, timing, appearance, or opportunity, they envy them. They call it destiny. They call it fortune. They call it blessed. But they never notice what happens next. Because success that comes without struggle has no foundation beneath it. It looks impressive, but it is hollow. It shines brightly, but it breaks instantly. It rises fast, but it collapses faster. Why? Because struggle is not the obstacle to success. Struggle is the structure that success stands on. Without struggle, there is no depth. There is no resilience. There is no emotional endurance. There is no skill under pressure. There is no internal strength. There is no identity shift. There is no psychological maturity. You may achieve something externally, but internally you remain fragile. So fragile that the first real challenge shatters everything you built. Success without struggle creates fragile winners. They cannot handle criticism. They cannot absorb failure. They cannot rebuild after collapse. They cannot persist through difficulty. They cannot handle responsibility. They cannot tolerate uncertainty. They cannot evolve past their comfort. Because struggle is the training that prepares you for the weight of success. Struggle teaches you patience. Struggle teaches you endurance. Struggle teaches you clarity. Struggle teaches you humility. Struggle teaches you discipline. Struggle teaches you emotional strength. Without these qualities, success is not a blessing, it is a burden. And many people collapse under that burden because they never learned how to carry it. Look at anyone who gains success instantly. A sudden influencer, a lottery winner, a rising athlete, a young celebrity, a new entrepreneur with explosive growth. They rise fast, but they are vulnerable. Their identity is untested. Their mindset is immature. Their emotional foundation is thin. Their habits are undeveloped. Their resilience is absent. So what happens? The moment pressure arrives, criticism, responsibility, competition, stress, they fall apart. Not because they were incapable, but because they never built the strength to hold the success they received. This is why many people who rise quickly burn out quickly. Struggle is not punishment. Struggle is preparation. It conditions the mind to survive the storms that success inevitably brings. Every setback you overcame taught you how to rise. Every failure you endured taught you how to adapt. Every disappointment you faced taught you how to breathe under pressure. Every rejection built the emotional capacity to stay committed without validation. Struggle shapes the version of you that can handle greatness. Without struggle, you don't learn the skills that protect success from collapse. Because success is not maintained through talent, it is maintained through character, and character is sculpted by adversity. This is why people who rise slowly, who fail repeatedly, who rebuild often, who grow gradually, become unshakable. They are seasoned, they are grounded, they are mentally fortified. They have been broken enough times to understand exactly how to rebuild. They have seen darkness enough times to recognize the value of light. They have endured pressure enough times to remain calm when chaos surrounds them. People admire their confidence, but their confidence was not gifted. It was grown. People admire their strength, but their strength was not inherited. It was earned. People admire their wisdom, but their wisdom was not sudden. It was carved from years of trial and error. Success without struggle collapses because it lacks the emotional architecture to support itself. But success built through struggle becomes untouchable. Not because the person becomes perfect, but because they become prepared. And preparation is more powerful than perfection. As you move deeper into this book, you will learn how your struggles have been shaping a stronger, wiser, far more resilient version of you, one capable not only of achieving success, but sustaining it when it finally arrives. The dark side of comfort. Comfort is one of the most seductive illusions in life. It feels like safety. It feels like peace. It feels like stability. It feels like control. But comfort, when left unquestioned, is not a blessing. It is a slow and silent cage. A cage so gentle that you never notice the bars. A cage so warm that you stop seeking the fire that once made you grow. A cage so familiar that you confuse it with the life you were meant to live. Comfort promises relief, but demands your potential as payment. And most people accept this trade without even realizing what they have lost. Because comfort does not destroy you suddenly. Comfort destroys you subtly, through avoidance, through hesitation, through procrastination, through lowered standards, through shrinking dreams, through emotional numbness. Comfort slowly convinces you to stop trying, to stop stretching, to stop evolving, to stop challenging yourself, to stop pursuing something greater than what feels familiar. Comfort whispers, "You're fine as you are. You don't need to push. You don't need to risk anything. Stay here, it's easier." But comfort does not tell you what it will cost you. It costs you your ambition. It costs you your resilience. It costs you your creativity. It costs you your confidence. It costs you the life you could have lived if you had dared to step beyond it. People do not get stuck because they lack ability. They get stuck because comfort replaces desire. They forget the hunger that once drove them. They forget the dreams that once excited them. They forget the courage that once defined them. They forget the version of themselves that once reached for something more. Comfort creates a mental fog, a subtle heaviness where nothing is wrong, but nothing is right either. You're not suffering, but you're not growing. You're not failing, but you're not evolving. You're not collapsing, but you're not rising. You're simply existing in a space that feels safe but slowly erases your edge. Here is the psychological truth most people don't understand. The mind becomes alive through challenge and dies through comfort. Comfort weakens you emotionally. Comfort makes fear bigger than it is. Comfort makes effort feel exhausting. Comfort makes risk feel impossible. Comfort makes change feel dangerous. You begin to protect what you have instead of pursuing what you need. You begin to shrink your future to fit your current identity. You begin to say no to opportunities because saying yes would require leaving your comfort behind. The dark side of comfort is that it replaces growth with stagnation, and stagnation feels safe only because you haven't yet paid its price. Every dream that died was suffocated by comfort. Every passion that faded was softened by comfort. Every potential that remained unused was trapped behind comfort. But here's the paradox. Comfort feels good only when you've earned it. When comfort becomes your starting point, it becomes your prison. But when comfort becomes your reward after growth, after struggle, after transformation, it feels meaningful. The reason discomfort leads to progress is simple. Discomfort introduces you to parts of yourself that comfort will never let you meet. You learn your resilience only under pressure. You learn your potential only through challenge. You learn your strength only by facing fear. You learn your courage only by stepping into uncertainty. Comfort hides your future. Discomfort reveals it. And this is why life often disrupts your comfort, to push you toward the version of yourself that comfort was quietly killing. When plans fall apart, when routines are broken, when expectations collapse, when stability disappears, it is not life punishing you, it is life waking you. It is life saying, "You were never meant to stay here. You have outgrown this place. You have more inside you than this." Comfort may feel like safety, but safety is not living. Safety is surviving. Safety is maintenance. Safety is repetition. Growth requires movement. Movement requires risk. Risk requires courage. Courage requires discomfort. And as you go further into this book, you will begin to see that the dark side of comfort is not that it feels good. It's that it convinces you you don't need anything better. But your future self is waiting outside your comfort zone and every step beyond. It is a step closer to the life that comfort will never allow you to reach. Rebuilding yourself after collapse. There comes a point after every fall when the dust settles, the noise fades, and you are left standing in the quiet ruins of who you once were. This moment is heavy, not because of the loss itself, but because of the realization nothing will ever be the same again. And that realization, as frightening as it feels, is where true transformation begins. You cannot rebuild from the place you were broken. You rebuild from the place you became aware. Collapse is not the end of your life, it is the clearing of your life. It removes what can't go forward. It exposes what must be replaced. It reveals what was unstable, unhealthy, unfinished, or untrue. Collapse is clarity, but clarity alone is not enough. After the fall, you face a choice: to cling to the broken pieces of who you were, or to begin sculpting the version of you that the fall was preparing you to become. Most people cling. They try to glue the old self back together. They try to return to familiarity. They try to revive what has already died. They chase the comfort of what used to be, not realizing that comfort is what weakened them in the first place. You cannot rebuild by restoring what collapsed. You rebuild by redesigning what comes next. Rebuilding yourself means asking questions most people avoid. What needs to change within me? What belief brought me here? What identity have I outgrown? What habits must I release? What part of me broke because it was weak? And what part of me survived because it is strong? You rebuild yourself the way a master craftsman rebuilds a structure. Slowly, deliberately, with intention, with awareness of every layer that created the collapse and every layer needed to rise again. People want quick rebuilding, instant solutions, motivational shortcuts, a fast recovery that makes the pain disappear. But rebuilding is not a race. It is a redesign. And redesign requires dismantling. Dismantling old narratives, dismantling inherited beliefs, dismantling emotional armor, dismantling the expectation that life should have gone differently. Rebuilding means releasing the version of you that couldn't survive the fall. That version wasn't wrong. It was simply incomplete. It carried you as far as it could. It protected you until it couldn't. It made choices with the awareness it had. But it was not built for the life you are becoming ready to live. Rebuilding is an evolution of identity. It requires new frameworks, new beliefs, new habits, new boundaries, new emotional strength, new self-respect, new courage, new patience, new understanding of who you are and what you deserve. You don't rebuild by returning, you rebuild by redefining. Redefining what matters, redefining what you accept, redefining what you pursue, redefining what you stand for, redefining who gets access to your energy, redefining what you will never tolerate again. The fall removes illusions. The rebuilding replaces them with truth. And piece by piece, you begin constructing a self that is not shaped by fear, but shaped by awareness. This rebuilding is slow. It is quiet. It is invisible to others. But it is transformational. No applause, no recognition, no instant reward, just a deeper, quieter strength forming inside you. A strength that wasn't there before the collapse. A strength that wasn't available to the old version of you. A strength that only emerges when everything you leaned on has already fallen apart. Rebuilding is the birth of a wiser self. A self who is not afraid of falling anymore because they finally understand that falling does not end you. It expands you. A self who trusts discomfort because they know discomfort is the birthplace of evolution. A self who listens to pain because they know pain speaks truth. A self who no longer breaks in the places they once shattered because those places have now been rebuilt with purpose. A self who understands that they can survive collapse and rise again not weaker, but more aligned, more centered, more grounded, more aware, more unshakable. As you progress deeper into this book, you will learn how rebuilding yourself is not about replacing who you were. It is about creating who you were meant to be once the weight of the old self finally fell away. Failure as the door to creativity. Creativity is often imagined as something magical, a spark, a moment of inspiration. a sudden wave of brilliance that comes out of nowhere. But real creativity rarely appears in moments of comfort. Creativity is born in the space where certainty breaks. It emerges from the cracks of everything that once made sense but no longer does. It takes shape in the silence after your plans collapse. It grows in the emptiness left behind by your old identity. It rises from the confusion of not knowing what comes next. Creativity does not thrive in stability, it thrives in disruption. Because disruption removes the mental structures that kept you limited. It forces you to question, to rethink, to redesign, to imagine possibilities that were invisible when everything felt predictable. Failure cracks open the rigid parts of your mind. Failure interrupts the patterns you've been repeating automatically. Failure breaks the illusion that you've figured everything out. Failure removes the false confidence that kept you from exploring new perspectives. And in that brokenness, creativity begins to breathe. Think about the moments you felt most creative in your life. Were they the moments when everything was perfect? Or were they the moments when everything fell apart and you had no choice but to create a way forward? Necessity is not the mother of invention. Failure is. Necessity pushes you to act, but failure forces you to rethink. Creativity is the mind's response to uncertainty. When the old way dies, the new way becomes possible. But most people never experience their true creative potential because they avoid the very thing that unlocks it. They avoid failure. They cling to what is familiar. They fear the unknown. They repeat safe behaviors. They follow predictable routines. They protect their identity instead of expanding it. Comfort kills creativity before creativity even has a chance to speak. But failure breaks the door open. It disrupts the path you thought you needed to follow. It exposes the limitations you didn't know you were living under. It shakes your confidence so you can build a deeper one. It empties your expectations so something new can enter. Failure forces the question you never ask when life is smooth. What else is possible? And that question is where creativity lives. Creativity is not a talent. It is not a skill given to a few. It is a survival mechanism, the mind's way of adapting when the old way no longer works. Every breakthrough in human history came from someone who failed repeatedly until they stumbled upon something new. Artists evolve through the work that didn't turn out right. Scientists discover through experiments that failed. Entrepreneurs innovate through ideas that collapsed. Writers transform through drafts they threw away. Inventors succeed through countless prototypes that broke, burned, or malfunctioned. Failure is the classroom where creativity learns to speak. But creativity also requires surrender, the willingness to release control, to stop forcing outcomes, to let the patterns fall apart so something original can emerge. Creativity is the courage to walk into uncertainty with curiosity instead of fear. It is the ability to see possibility in the very place others see disappointment. It is the art of asking, what if this break is not an ending, but an opening? When something in your life collapses, a plan, a relationship, a belief, an identity, a dream, you stand in the rubble with two choices. You can mourn what was lost, or you can explore what can be built. Creativity chooses exploration, because creativity understands that failure removes the limitations that success cannot. Success keeps you within boundaries. Failure frees you from them. Success rewards repetition. Failure demands innovation. Success builds comfort. Failure builds creativity. And creativity is the birthplace of reinvention. As you move further in this book, you will begin to realize that failure is not a closed door, it is a doorway that leads not backward, but inward, into the part of you that is capable of imagining, designing, and creating a life far greater than the one that fell apart. Emotional strength through repeated setbacks. Emotional strength is not something you are born with. It is not a gift. It is not luck. It is not inherited. Emotional strength is crafted in the fires of disappointment, in the ashes of failure, in the quiet moments when life has knocked you down for the third, the fifth, the 10th time, and you still find a way to keep breathing. People imagine emotional strength as something dramatic, a heroic burst of courage, a fearless confrontation, a loud declaration of power. But emotional strength rarely looks dramatic. Most of the time, emotional strength looks like getting out of bed when your mind tells you not to. It looks like trying again after life has already drained you. It looks like choosing patience when frustration whispers loudly. It looks like remaining calm when every part of you wants to react. It looks like continuing the journey when your heart feels heavy. Emotional strength is not loud. It is steady. And steady strength is built through repeated setbacks. Every time life pushes you down and you find even one small reason to rise again, you grow. Not dramatically, not visibly, not instantly, but deeply. Setbacks do something that ease and comfort never will. They introduce you to the parts of yourself you didn't know existed. Your patience, your tolerance, your inner composure, your ability to stay grounded when things fall apart, your ability to breathe through chaos, your ability to think through pain, your ability to remain yourself when nothing around you feels stable. This emotional strength is not built when life is smooth. It is built when life tests your foundation. And the more setbacks you experience, the more opportunities your mind gets to strengthen its emotional architecture. Every disappointment forces you to confront a truth. Every failure reveals a weakness. Every struggle strengthens a muscle. Every collapse sharpens a perspective. But emotional strength does not grow from the setback alone. It grows from the decision you make in the middle of the setback. When something goes wrong, you face a mental crossroads. One path collapses you. The other path constructs you. Most people choose collapse, not because they are weak, but because collapse feels immediate, familiar, easy. Breaking down requires no effort, but choosing to stay calm when fear is screaming, that is strength. Choosing to breathe when anxiety rises, that is strength. Choosing to pause instead of panic, that is strength. Choosing to think instead of react, that is strength. Choosing to heal instead of hide, that is strength. Choosing to continue when quitting feels easier, that is strength. Emotional strength is formed not in the moments you win, but in the moments you refuse to lose yourself. And the mind learns this slowly, through repetition. The first setback breaks you deeply. The second setback hurts but doesn't destroy you. The third setback teaches you something. The fourth setback builds tolerance. The fifth setback builds resilience. The sixth setback builds wisdom. The seventh setback builds calmness. Repeated setbacks don't make you numb. They make you stable. Your emotional system stops reacting from fear and starts responding from awareness. Nothing outside you becomes easier, but everything inside you becomes stronger. This is why people who have been through much often carry a quiet intensity, a presence that is grounded, calm, unshaken. They didn't get this strength from reading books. They didn't get it from motivational speeches. They earned it by surviving what once felt unbearable, by facing storms that others ran from, by rebuilding themselves after each collapse, by learning how to breathe in moments that suffocate others. Setbacks matured them in ways comfort never could. The mind that has endured repeatedly becomes a mind that does not fear endurance. The heart that has broken and healed becomes a heart that knows how to hold itself. Emotional strength is not superiority. It is survival. It is self-mastery. It is the ability to move through life without letting life move through you. As you continue deeper into this book, you will see that emotional strength is not the absence of pain, it is the presence of resilience. A resilience that forms slowly, quietly, and powerfully through every setback life dared to place in your path, separating identity from outcomes. One of the greatest misunderstandings in life is the belief that your outcomes define who you are. If you succeed, you are valuable. If you fail, you are inadequate. If you win, you are worthy. If you lose, you are nothing. This is the silent equation most people live by, an equation that destroys confidence, limits potential, and traps the mind inside a cycle of fear, shame, and self-doubt. But here is the truth that frees entire lives. Your outcomes are not your identity. They are reflections of your actions, not definitions of your worth. What you experience is not who you are. What you achieve is not who you are. What you fail at is not who you are. But somewhere along the journey, most people blur this line. A failed exam becomes, I am not intelligent. A broken relationship becomes, I am not lovable. A rejected idea becomes, I am not creative. A financial loss becomes, I am not capable. A missed goal becomes, I am not disciplined. Pain becomes identity. Failure becomes identity. Setbacks become identity. And once your identity merges with failure, failure stops being an event. It becomes your worldview. You stop taking risks. You stop dreaming. You stop evolving. You stop trying. You stop believing in potential. Not because you lack ability, but because you mistakenly believe your past outcomes are permanent truths. But they aren't. Outcomes change the moment actions change. Actions change the moment beliefs change. Beliefs change the moment. Identity separates from experience. You are not your results. You are the consciousness. That creates results. And consciousness can grow, expand, learn, rewire, and transform at any stage of life. A failure reflects the strategy you used, not the person you are. A mistake reflects the moment, not your nature. A setback reflects the environment, not your destiny. But society teaches you to attach outcomes to identity. Parents do it subconsciously. Teachers reinforce it. Friends echo it. Culture amplifies it. And without realizing it, you start shrinking yourself to match the results you experienced instead of the potential you carry. You begin saying things like, this is just who I am. I've always been this way. I guess I'm not meant for more. I'm not the type of person who succeeds. None of this is true. It is only conditioning. Your identity is not carved from outcomes. It is shaped by awareness. Awareness of your patterns. Awareness of your beliefs. Awareness of your choices. Awareness of your strengths. Awareness of your fears. Once awareness grows, identity becomes flexible, and flexibility is the root of transformation. People who evolve don't have fewer failures. They simply refuse to define themselves by them. They treat outcomes as temporary data. They treat mistakes as correctable. They treat setbacks as feedback. They treat losses as lessons. They treat success as progress, not personality. Identity stays separate from the result. This separation is what makes the strongest minds unbreakable. When they fail, they don't collapse. They adjust. They realign. They update their approach. They evolve their thinking. They refine their direction. And because identity remains intact, every new attempt is made without the burden of the last outcome. This is why children learn so rapidly. They do not attach failure to identity. They simply try again. But as adults, ego makes us fragile. We begin to protect our identity instead of improving it. We'd rather call something impossible than admit we can grow. Separating identity from outcomes is mature. It is emotional intelligence. It is psychological freedom. Because once you stop saying, I failed, therefore I am a failure, you reclaim the power to rise. You begin saying, I failed because something in my approach needs upgrading. And upgrading is within my control. This realization is the rebirth of self-respect. It is the shift from shame to strategy, from fear to empowerment, from helplessness to intention. You cannot control every outcome, but you can always control who you choose to become in response to it. As you move further into this book, you will learn how to detach your identity from everything that ever went wrong, so you can build an identity strong enough to create what can finally go right. Failure as the mirror of truth. There are moments in life when failure feels less like an event and more like exposure, as if something hidden inside you has suddenly been revealed. Failure has a way of holding a mirror to your deepest truth, not the truth you show to others, not the truth you use to protect yourself, but the truth that defines who you really are beneath the surface. Most people avoid this mirror. They fear what they might see. They fear the parts of themselves that success keeps neatly hidden. Because success is camouflage. It hides insecurities. It hides weaknesses. It hides fears. It hides unresolved wounds. It hides unchallenged beliefs. Success allows you to postpone truth. Failure forces you to face it. Failure reveals where you overestimated yourself, where you underestimated the challenge, where you hid behind excuses, where you acted without awareness, where you repeated old patterns, where your skills were insufficient, where your mindset was fragile, where your emotional balance was shaky. Failure shows you everything success refuses to teach. This is why failure feels painful, not because it destroys you, but because it removes the illusions you were living behind. Illusions about your strengths, illusions about your abilities, illusions about your discipline, illusions about your boundaries, illusions about your relationships, illusions about your resilience. Failure exposes the truth that you were not ready to confront voluntarily, and that exposure is not cruelty, it is clear. Clarity you cannot gain through praise, validation, or easy victories. Clarity that only comes when life strips away your defenses and leaves you face to face with what needs to change. People resist failure because failure removes the stories they cling to. I'm doing my best. I know what I'm doing. I'm already strong enough. I don't need to improve. I'm not the problem. But the mirror of failure reflects reality, and reality demands transformation. It says, you are capable, but not yet consistent. You have potential, but you lack preparation. You have dreams, but your habits don't match them. You want progress, but you fear discomfort. You desire success, but you avoid responsibility. These truths are uncomfortable, but they are also liberating. Because the moment you see the truth clearly, you reclaim the power to change it. Most people never grow because they never allow failure to show them what needs to evolve. They defend their illusions instead of updating themselves. They protect their ego instead of strengthening their identity. They avoid the mirror instead of studying the reflection. But here is the paradox. The truth inside the mirror is the only version of you that can build the future you want. The illusions kept you safe. The truth will make you powerful. The illusions helped you survive. The truth will help you evolve. The illusions held you back. The truth will set you free. Failure is not meant to humiliate you. It is meant to illuminate you. It highlights what needs attention. It reveals what needs improvement. It uncovers what needs healing. It exposes what needs releasing. It shows which direction your next growth must take. This mirror is honest, brutally honest, but honesty is the foundation of transformation. People who rise do not rise because they avoid failure. They rise because they study failure. They analyze the reflection. They observe their patterns. They confront their blind spots. They challenge their beliefs. They update their strategies. They refine their identity. Failure gives them access to information success could never provide. Because success inflates the ego, but failure strengthens awareness. Success feels good, but failure teaches well. Success boosts confidence, but failure builds character. Success rewards what you already know, but failure reveals what you must learn next. And awareness is the beginning of every breakthrough. As you move further in this book, you will begin to see failure not as a blow to your self-worth, but as a mirror that reflects the exact truth you needed in order to grow. A mirror that does not lie, does not flatter, does not distort, and does not hide what must finally be seen. Because once you face the truth failure shows you, you become unstoppable, not by avoiding weakness, but by transforming it. The science of failing forward. There is a reason some people rise after failure, while others collapse. A reason some minds strengthen, while others break. A reason some individuals grow wiser, while others remain stuck in the same patterns for years. The difference is not destiny, not talent, not luck, not even intelligence. The difference is neurological. Your brain changes every time you fail. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, literally. Failure triggers a biological process called neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself based on experience. Most people think the brain learns from success, but in reality, The brain learns far more deeply from the moment success did not happen. When you fail, your brain enters a heightened state of sensitivity, awareness, and adaptability. It asks questions it wouldn't ask during success. What went wrong? What can be improved? What pattern needs correction? What strategy must change? What belief interfered with action? What emotion disrupted clarity? Failure activates areas of the brain responsible for problem-solving, adaptive thinking, emotional regulation, strategy redesign, behavioral refinement, long-term learning. This is not philosophy. This is neuroscience. Every failed attempt strengthens the neural pathways associated with reflection and correction. And every reflection creates new pathways that prepares you to make better decisions next time. Failure is the stimulus that evolution uses to shape intelligence. This is why people who avoid failure never develop the mental architecture required for excellence. Their brains remain unchanged, rigid, fragile, untested. But those who fail forward, reflect deeply, and try again develop a brain that becomes increasingly capable of handling complexity, pressure, and uncertainty. Let's go deeper. When you fail, your brain releases dopamine not to reward the failure itself, but to reward the learning that follows failure. Dopamine motivates you to analyze the mistake so you can perform better next time. This means evolution designed your brain to grow through failure, not through perfection. Mistakes strengthen learning in a way success never can. A success tells you, do that again. A failure tells you, do something differently. Success reinforces the old self. Failure engineers the new self. This is why failure is essential for long-term transformation. When you attempt something difficult and fail, your brain forms new circuits that didn't exist before. Circuits that enable skills, insight, judgment, and resilience. When you attempt again, those circuits strengthen. When you adjust your strategy, new branches grow. When you persist, the network expands. Over time, the brain that once feared failure begins to crave growth. This is how experts are made, not through talent, through repeated attempts that gradually rewired the mind to operate at a higher level. But here is the crucial distinction. Failure only rewires the brain when you engage with it consciously. If you avoid responsibility, blame others, hide from reflection, or numb the discomfort, your brain learns nothing. The circuits remain unchanged. The patterns repeat. The failures return. Avoidance does not protect you. Avoidance traps you. Reflection liberates you. This is why two people can experience the same failure and walk away with completely different futures. The one who learns, rewires. The one who reacts, repeats. The difference is neurological. The difference is awareness. The difference is ownership. And here is something few people realize. Your brain strengthens the most in the exact moment you want to give up. That moment of exhaustion, frustration, confusion, fear, that is the moment new neural pathways are waiting to be formed. The desire to quit is a biological sign that the brain is on the edge of growth. If you stop, the growth dies. If you continue, the wiring completes. Every breakthrough in your life will happen on the other side of this uncomfortable boundary. Not before it, not after it, on the other side of it. This is why persistence is not motivation, it is biology. The more you try, the more your brain evolves. The more your brain evolves, the more capable you become. The more capable you become, the less you fear failure, because you finally understand how the mind truly works. Failure is not evidence of your limit. Failure is the process that expands your limit. Every fall is a rewiring. Every attempt is a reconstruction. Every mistake is a message. Every reflection is a new pathway. Every try is a mental upgrade. This is the science behind failing forward. As you move into the final part of this book, you will see why the brain of someone who persists becomes unstoppable, not because they avoid failure, but because their mind evolves beyond the point where failure can break them. Rising again, the quiet power of persistence. There is a kind of strength that does not come from talent or confidence or intelligence or even passion. It comes from something quieter, something slower, something almost invisible. It comes from persistence. Persistence is not loud. It is not glamorous. It is not spectacular. It does not draw applause. It does not make headlines. Persistence works in silence while the world is distracted by noise. It is the small decision to try again when nothing inside you feels ready. It is the choice to take one more step when the path ahead still feels uncertain. It is the calm, steady voice that whispers, "I'm not done yet." Most people misunderstand persistence. They imagine it as endless motivation, constant fire, perpetual energy. But real persistence is not fueled by motivation. It is fueled by meaning. The people who persist are not the ones who feel strong every day. They are the ones who decide that their purpose is greater than their exhaustion. They keep going, not because the journey is easy, but because stopping would cost them more than continuing. Persistence is the bridge between who you are and who you can become. Every fall you survived, every setback you endured, every failure you analyzed, every disappointment you rose from, all of it has been quietly shaping the kind of person who does not break when life becomes difficult. Most people stop right before the turning point, not because they are weak, but because the struggle feels endless, and they cannot see how close they are to crossing into a new reality. Persistence is the ability to continue walking even when the horizon refuses to reveal itself. It is the discipline of holding your direction while the world tests your patience. It is the courage to believe that your efforts are doing something internally, even when nothing externally has changed yet. Because transformation begins inside long before it appears outside. A seed grows in darkness before it breaks through the soil. A mind grows in struggle before it breaks through limitations. The rise happens privately before it becomes visible publicly. This is why persistence feels lonely. You are working while no one claps. You are improving while no one notices. You are evolving while the world assumes you are standing still. But inside you, something is building, a mental structure that will not collapse under pressure. Every time you showed up despite fear, you built persistence. Every time you tried again despite failure, you built persistence. Every time you walked forward despite uncertainty, you built persistence. Every time you refused to surrender to doubt, you built persistence. Persistence is the quiet power that turns ordinary minds into extraordinary forces. It is the invisible strength behind every success story the world admires. Look closely at anyone you consider powerful. You will find persistence woven into every part of their journey, not perfection, not privilege, not luck. Persistence, the willingness to rise one more time than they fell. This is the truth people overlook. Falling does not stop your journey. The decision to stop rising does. And here is what persistence understands better than anything else. You can rise slowly. You can rise uncertainly. You can rise shakily. You can rise quietly. You can rise afraid. You can rise with doubt. But as long as you rise, you are not defeated. Defeat requires surrender. Failure does not. Persistence is the antidote to defeat. It rewrites your story every time you choose not to quit. It reshapes your identity every time you choose to continue. It expands your future every time you take another step. Persistence transforms you from someone who falls into someone who rises, again and again and again. By now, you have learned something profound. Failure is not the opposite of progress. It is the engine of progress. Falling is not the end. It is the beginning. Pain is not punishment. It is information. Setbacks are not barriers. They are turning points. And persistence is the force that carries you across the threshold from who you were to who you were meant to become. As you close this book, remember, you do not need to rise dramatically. You do not need to rise perfectly. You do not need to rise quickly. You only need to rise one more time, then life knocks you down. Because, in the end, your greatest strength will not be how high you climbed, but how consistently you chose to stand back up. As you reach the final page of this book, take a moment, not to celebrate the end, but to acknowledge the transformation that has quietly begun within you. You have walked through the ruins of your past failures. You have faced the truths you once avoided. You have confronted the patterns that shaped your pain. You have discovered the strength hidden beneath every collapse. And now, you stand on the edge of a new beginning. Not a beginning free of struggle, but a beginning where struggle no longer frightens you. You have learned that failure is not your enemy. Failure is your instructor, your mirror, your compass, your guide, your doorway into evolution. Every fall you survived rewired your mind. Every mistake you analyzed reinforced your wisdom. Every setback you endured expanded your emotional strength. Every moment you rose again proved a truth you once doubted. You are far stronger than the person you used to be, and now you know why. Strength is not built by success. Strength is built by what you refuse to let break you. You are not defined by the outcomes you faced. You are defined by the persistence you showed in rising from them. That is the quiet power this world rarely teaches, the ability to continue, to endure, to rebuild, to recalibrate, to evolve again and again, no matter how many times life asks you to start over. The person you were at the beginning of this book did not fully understand that power, but the person you are now, the person emerging at this moment, is different, more aware, more grounded, more resilient, more aligned with the truth of who you can become. You are no longer the one who sees failure as a threat. You are the one who sees failure as the path. A path that shapes you. A path that strengthens you. A path that prepares you for every breakthrough waiting ahead. And as you walk forward beyond this book, carry this truth with you. You do not need perfect confidence. You do not need perfect clarity. You do not need perfect timing. You only need one thing, the willingness to rise again no matter how many times you fall. Because your story does not end in the fall. It begins every time you rise. And before you close this journey, take one small step that keeps you connected to everything you've gained here. Put on your headphones for the next book, and if this journey has awakened something inside you, a shift, a spark, a realization, then make sure you subscribe so you never walk alone through the evolution that is still to come. Your rise has only just begun.